You must be great at the one-legged poses in yoga. That's all I have to say.
Welcome to a More Philly Union podcast where we swear to talk about the Philly Union, the whole Philly Union, and nothing but the Philly Union with as few digressions as possible, so long as Apple TV will let us. I'm one of your hosts, Paul.
And we're off. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
I'm Paul.
I'm C.
And I'm Eric.
And this is a More Philly Union. So, housekeeping this week is all about Apple TV, which has now been dubbed Crapple TV around here.
A special Crapple TV episode of a More Philly Union.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually lucky enough to watch the game live, and while I was disappointed that I had to deal with, the surprisingly homerish Montreal announcers on the Apple TV, I wasn't able to bring up the local feed. You guys appear to have had a lot more trouble with it than I have.
Yes, indeed. We are back to the days before VCRs, before DVRs, before anything, because it's Tuesday as we record, and we still have no option for a full game replay. We can see a quick recap, which, by the way, you can also see for free on YouTube.
For free on YouTube.
Yep. So, but no, despite more than an hour and a half on support with Apple, on about a half an hour on support with our the maker of our television. Few prayers, little.
We don't want to bring them into this.
Little lit incense, and dancing in the backyard under the full moon. Actually, it's a new moon, but still. No, we still don't have it as of Tuesday, so that's annoying.
And I know that I had trouble watching a recap the following day. I couldn't pull it up on the PlayStation app. In fact, yesterday when I checked, I still didn't have access to it. Looking at my phone now today, because I do have an iPhone, it does appear that I can see a version of the game with a 90-minute version of the game with English broadcast. But I mean, I haven't really watched it yet. Like you, I've just watched the recap since the actual game.
Yeah.
It sucks.
So very frustrating.
If we flex our minuscule amount of internet presence, I'd be curious if anybody else is using Apple TV, if they're having any issues. I'd be curious, because we're not. This is not a deliberate choice. We're not really an Apple household, and we seem to be at a disadvantage, both just getting stuff to stream, but also whenever we did call the fine folks at Apple TV tech support, they were like, "Oh, can you have an Apple product or an Apple device?" It's like, no, we don't.
So all of these support options were not available to us as a result. And he was perfectly nice. He was trying. He clearly had no clue about this MLS package. I don't think they've been very well informed. I mean, I shouldn't say no clue. He knew it existed. So credit where it's due. But he did say / let slip that they've been getting a lot of calls about problems with this, which was both disheartening and comforting at the same time.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I mean, if other people are having this issue, it's kind of nice to know we're not the only ones dealing with this. And, if you happen to be listening and you want to shoot us an email, let us know.
Join my text campaign, or not text, Twitter campaign.
So just to give you those addresses, it is amorephillyunion@gmail.com, and our Twitter address is amorephillyu.
That's correct.
At Twitter. So please reach out, tag us on it if you're also having issues with Apple and you're using your Twitter account. Feel free to hashtag us or let us know that that we're not alone.
Yes. Yes. If nothing else, the moral support would be greatly appreciated.
I mean, can you imagine a more Philly fan response? At least we suffer together.
I know.
That's right.
I know. Yeah, that's the subhead for a lot of what we do. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, if there was a game you were going to miss or have trouble watching, this actually isn't a bad one to have missed, because Union almost in some ways, or frustratingly, looked like the Union of old in giving up a lead and snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, losing 3-2 at Montreal.
I think it's also a case of the wheel has turned from the soccer gods, because now, we'll get more into it, but we got a red card in this game, and that's that allowed the score to go the way it did. So while the gods smiled upon us, 2 games in a row, or at least 2 games this season so far, where the team we play got red cards, the wheel has turned and we got our comeuppance. But
there's definitely a bit of that. The Union gave up a penalty kick in the first 2 minutes, and I think it was the second minute of the game. Ball goes off of Mbaizo's foot, off of Glesnis's hand. It's rightly called a handball in the box. I think that was Kyoto who stepped up and took the goal and put it past Bendik. I mean, there isn't a whole lot to complain about, even as a Philly fan. Yeah, it went off. I think it went off of Mbaizo's foot before it went off of Glesnis's hand. So
I thought it did too.
I question whether or not he really had an opportunity or a realistic possibility of getting his arm out of the way. But at the same point, if your arm is out in the box away from your body and it goes off of it, you're going to get called for a handball a lot of those times.
Yeah. And it was a nice PK. I mean, it was this laser of a shot, I think, in the upper left corner, so credits due where credits due, I guess. But
I suppose
it was not the not the best opening 120 seconds.
No.
I very quickly, I stand by my opinion that handball is just an opening for tomfoolery on the part of the refereeing staff. If not, I have my opinions on how that should be handled, and I don't know that. Well, they don't share my opinions, I guess. I don't know.
Well, you can ask any fan what the handball rule should be, and you'll get a different one.
Right.
Almost like we should do a quick round the table. Like, what do you count? What should be a handball? Just anything that touches a hand, or has it got to be like a deliberate, like, I'm going to smack the ball out of the way.
There has to be intent for me. For me, there has to be some kind of intent. Now, it could be just a reaction. It could be something that they, you reach out and you smack it, not thinking. Although if you are a professional soccer player, you would think you would have overcome that instinct at some point. But
smacking, headbutting,
something. No, but I'm saying there should be intent behind it. If the ball hits you in the arm, come on. But I realize that it's open for interpretation. But so then that said, like I've said before, as long as it's consistent interpretation throughout the game, that's the second best answer for me. So.
Yeah, and I would say that there's no great way to officiate this. I agree that it's optimally, and I think originally the intent was that if you're trying to play the ball with your hand in some way, that's where it comes down.
Yeah.
Now what exactly that means, because as a defender, if you leave your arm kind of hovering outside your body, giving yourself another foot of width or 2 feet of width, that's arguably that you're trying to use that to your advantage. Now, if the ball goes off your hand there and you're making yourself bigger, I could see it. This particular one, it was a chicken wing effect,
absolutely
situation. His hand, he was moving across the box. His arm was just out in a natural motion. I would agree that really wasn't a handball. Now, if the referee hadn't called it a handball, he probably would have gotten mobbed by both the Montreal players and their fans that would have stormed the field. But in a lot of ways, he wasn't trying to make himself bigger. He was just moving in a natural manner.
Yeah.
So I knew it was going to get called a handball as soon as it bounced off of him. It was just going to happen, but I'd be okay with them letting those sorts of ones go. It reminded me a bit of Wagner's non-handball call against I forget which team last year, where he went sliding his arm, in the motion of his slide, his arm drifted away from his body and the ball went off of his arm. The referee didn't call that a handball. I thought that was fair. And I can't think of any that the Union had go off of a hand that didn't get called for a handball, just off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's happened. I'd be okay for a more lenient view on handball calls, letting it play more, just because it kind of does break the game in some way. How about you?
I was saying interesting enough about Wagner. I remember watching the replay right before the Glesnes handball call, because Wagner was covering, I don't know who it was from Montreal on. And here's another question. When you say left or right side, is it always relative to that team's goal? Like, so this would be coming down the Union's left side, Montreal's right side. So going into the Union's left corner, and Wagner was covering that guy, and he crossed it and, went out in front of the goal box and then the handball. But so that's one question. What's your convention for defining left and right side of the field? But also, I'm just noting Wagner was doing the whole Butler double hands behind the back kind of coverage of that Montreal player, and yeah, I almost wonder if they have practice sessions where they're going to run around.
Oh, they absolutely do. I have
their hands tied behind their backs, literally.
I don't know that they necessarily tie their hands behind their backs, but I'm sure that the defenders are trained. Keep your hands back. Keep your hands back. Keep your hands back.
Yeah.
So he must be great at the one-legged poses in yoga. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Also, you mentioned being mobbed by angry Montreal fans. If I have to choose a city or area whose fans to be mobbed by, I will take French Canadians. That is not a cut. That is not disrespect. I will just take the French Canadians. I think it'd be a fairly respectful, and I wouldn't understand what they were saying to me because I don't speak French.
And I think that you have the higher probability that of the things being hurled at you, some of that might actually be poutine, which case
correct.
I would take it.
Win.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Paul, you'll have
I don't
to
know if we want to go down all the bad parts of this game before we look at the good. There's not a ton of good on this one. But yeah, the big shift was Carranza's second yellow card. And in all honesty, it was completely unnecessary. I don't know if Carranza was tired after playing as much as he has, because he's been pretty much on the field the entire season for the Union. And he just didn't need to make that play. It was on their half of the field. He was late to a challenge, and he did not need to put a foot down.
I have a question. What was the first yellow card? Because again, we only were able to watch the 7-minute recap. So I know I saw the foul for the yellow, which we can talk about that as well. But what was his first yellow card?
Persistent infringement. He had been all over the field. He'd been talking back to the ref. He'd been getting into it with some of the Montreal players. He was playing a good game. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was playing physical, like you expect Carranza to do. He's really good at that reverse pressing that they do, where the first line of defenses are two forwards. But he was making a nuisance of himself, and then he started making a nuisance to the referee, and then I can't remember if it was a push or he got a bit of somebody's ankle, and the referee basically pointed around the field and gave him a yellow card for persistent infringement.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe I needed a few more angles on the second yellow, but it looked like a light yellow to me. I mean, I've seen if he had, if it had been a tackle or stepped on the guy, or, I understand, it's going for the person and not the ball, or overstepping and that kind of thing. But he didn't. I've seen much worse body checks. I don't know. I imagine it's more a principle thing than how hard he hit him, but it just didn't seem like that.
I can't remember. Did he actually get him with a bit of the spikes in that play?
From what I saw, if he did, it was minimal. But again, I didn't have a bunch of angles. It kind of looked like he missed the ball, and his momentum carried him into the other player, but not even as hard as other things I've seen that haven't gotten penalized as much. But.
Yeah, I think the way it kind of looked to me was, if that was his first foul in the game, I could see the ref kind of giving him a warning, But since he already had a yellow card, and again,
it was like his 13th foul of the game. I mean,
so maybe the ref just had enough of them. Also, I could see the ref being threatened by his handsomeness. So, yeah.
Like when they give someone an Oscar just because they've been in the industry for so long, yeah.
So after Carranza gets his second yellow, Curtin does make some subs. He ends up pulling Bedoya and who else was it? I forget. He put Perea on. He put Donovan on. He put Damian Lowe on. They kind of switched to a 5-back, which I think honestly confused things. I don't think they understood exactly how to play with 3 center defenders in that last 20 minutes of that game. And it just seemed like that led to a lot of confusion, in particular that last goal, that Kyoto goal, Mbaizo just got thrown to the ground fairly. Let me be clear. Kyoto just played it really well.
Yeah.
But there was no other center defender over there helping to support.
Did Curtin make these subs after the Union were up 2-1?
Correct. They were up 2-1, and then Carranza got his second yellow, got sent off, and that's when Jim, it looked like he was going to be making subs anyway, but he changed which subs he put in, and first he put Donovan and Perea on, and then a little bit later he put on Damian Lowe.
Okay. With respect to the Union goals, that first goal,
so pretty.
It was so nice because they put the pressure on Montreal's defense. They did a poor job clearing the ball. Well, they didn't.
Montreal did a poor job.
Montreal did a poor job. Yeah, not getting the ball there, and then we quickly got the turnover. It was like 1, 2, 3 passes, just quick, triangles, goal. Yeah, it was just so nice to see.
And in all honesty, Gazdag made that goal happen. If you watch that goal, Gazdag makes a great run into the center of the box as Aura's getting swamped by four Montreal players. 2 of them have to kind of slow up because Gazdag's making a run into the middle of the box. And even the goalkeeper, you can see he cheats to his left because he expects Aura to leave off the pass.
Mm-hmm.
And then that finish was really amazing from Aura. Mm-hmm. To be able to cut it and hit it with that much power, off balance and into that corner was really amazing.
Yeah. And in that second goal too, I could feel your voice inside my head, that the Union stopped the Montreal attack and quick transition, right? Or was already running up the field. They lobbed the ball up to him and he did a great job keeping the ball out in front of him. Like it's always that nice edge. You don't want the ball too far away from you, and you don't want it crowding at your feet where you have to slow down and there's defenders on your heel catch you. And he did such a great job just keeping that ball that 5 to 10 feet out in front. And it was just, I think I heard the announcer say it was just absolutely clinical to finish. Just, you just open up your hips inside of the foot, right?
Far post,
keep it on the ground, and
nothing a keeper can do when it's down low like that. They can't drop fast enough to get to the ground, and only a handful of keepers in the world could get a kick save anywhere close to stopping that shot.
Yeah,
it was so well taken. I mean, anyway, hey, Aura, finally got a couple of goals to start the season.
Yep.
We were all waiting for it. It took them. This is our 4th MLS game, so it's great to see it. Hopefully, he can continue now.
Yeah,
got that monkey off his back.
Yeah. Hopefully he and Gazdag and Carranza, the 3 of them can just cycle. You go, you score. Now you score. That's like, I've already had 2. Okay, thanks.
We only heard part of the commentary since, again, recap, but they did say on his second goal that was quality. Philadelphia's / his quality on display, which, they really seemed to subtly imply that we were the team, the better team, at least until the red card. But
and like you said earlier, credit to Montreal for the goals they did score. It was an uphill battle for them. Even 2-1 down, being down 2-1, even with a man advantage against the Union, is not a guarantee, and to put 2 on the Union in 20 minutes is impressive.
Yeah.
Kyoto really just decided to put that team on his back in a lot of ways and played well. And I know that Mbaizo got knocked to the ground on that third goal, and he felt it was a foul, but I watched it, and I was perfectly fine with that not being a foul.
Yeah.
If anything, I think he just needed one of those 3 center backs to be over there helping him.
Yeah.
I never realized how powerful Kyoto was. Like, his shoulders are massive. That man looks like he spends a lot of time in the gym.
He's a big boy. So did Kyoto and Ora, they both got braces in the game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Kyoto got the penalty kick and then the game winner. And I forget who got the second goal for Montreal.
What was it? Ofer?
Offor. O-F-F-O-R. Yeah.
That was that header that went off the crossbar and a scramble, and then he came in and put it in. That actually,
that was a little odd.
Did you want to talk about that?
Well, yeah,
the double VAR.
The double VAR, yeah.
Double VAR.
The first time I've seen double VAR, and I was just watching the timestamp. It was a full minute and 20 seconds between calling it back and then going back to check again, or minute and 10 seconds. I'm sorry, going back to check again and reinstating the goal. So I didn't understand what was being seen there. I mean, they did show that from plenty of angles.
So I know you saw the recap.
Yeah.
So from what it looked like, the first VAR replay was kind of tight in on the goal mouth, so they could see that there weren't any defenders back far enough.
Mm-hmm.
But then as they, after he called no goal, as they did another replay, he realized Wagner was down in the corner with his arms up. So, he was the one who ended up being the one defender keeping everybody on side. But they didn't see Wagner on the sideline because the first couple of videos that they watched seemed to be too zoomed in on the center of the field and didn't catch Wagner on the side of the field.
Okay.
Wow.
That makes more sense.
So like a rainbow, it was a double VAR. You don't see them very often.
Whoa, double rainbow.
Double VAR.
Yeah, so
it's so annoying. Yeah, and then
I mean, as one person I was reading or listening to, it's pointed out, at the end of the day, you want VAR to get it right.
Sure.
And by the letter of the law, that got it right.
Yeah.
So
it is what it is.
Gotta credit them for it. And on the whole, very disappointing loss. I was glad to see Ora get on the field on the score sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Really looked good. The Union really were taking it to Montreal. I mean, even after being a man down, I didn't think that they got played off the field. Mm-hmm. Montreal just made the most of what they had, what opportunities they had, and the Union didn't stop them well enough. I was actually saying that I was impressed with Perea and Donovan as substitutes. Both of them knew what their job was, to get it up the field and try to do their best to keep it in Montreal's half as much as they could. And I felt they did pretty decent at it. And on the whole. So let's not belabor it. I think we've already spent about 20 minutes on a game that you guys haven't yet actually been able to watch.
A game that we lost that we didn't watch. So let's not spend too much time.
Yeah. And so next up, though, is this weekend. Yeah, this weekend they're at home against Orlando on the 25th.
Orlando.
There's part of what we can talk about later is all the international call-ups. So the Union are going to be down at least 2 starters,
right?
Who are we losing?
Plus Blake.
Yeah.
So we're going to definitely be seeing some rotation in the squad this weekend against Orlando. But I gotta like our chances against Orlando. I don't know about you guys.
Well, which players are we losing for international duty?
Well, Blake's out for injury.
Sure.
Gozdog's out for Hungary. Martinez is out for Venezuela.
Okay.
That's right.
And then there's a couple of others that, like Damian Lowe is out for. Which one is he? Jamaica.
Okay.
And then another backup player, Richard Odada, is called up for Kenya.
Okay. Do we know what Orlando's attrition is going to be? or
I
I
don't.
don't.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
They'll probably lose a few though.
Yeah.
It's a home game too, so that's
home
always
game.
that always seems to at least help. It just still baffles me that we have so many problems on the road. But
I mean, do we even need to ask C? I mean, she's just sticking 2-1
2-1.
Oh, it's 2-1. 2-1, baby. 2-1 till it happens, and then I'll change it.
Yeah, right. It's kind of we angered the soccer god somehow, and they took a retribution against us with that red card. Hopefully that appeases their bloodlust, and we can get back to doing our thing here. I know Orlando, I listed their record so far. They're off to a fairly tepid start. I mean, the Union currently at 6th place. Orlando is in 9th, I believe. They've only won one game so far, and rightfully so, against Red Bulls. And then they drew against Cincinnati, they drew against DC, and they lost to Charlotte last weekend. So, yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to 3-1 win for the Union myself.
Coming in hot.
Yeah, I think playing at home, being frustrated after that last game.
Yeah.
Yes, they're not going to have Carranza. They're not going to have Gazdag. But I think that, Torres is going to get the start. I think Ura's going to be playing. I think that Donovan will be on I think Torres is going to play in the Gazdag spot. But, there's some other options. So Jim could put out a couple of different formations or different personnel sets for this 4-4-2. So yeah, I think that there's going to be some players out there trying to prove some things. So I do think they'll give up a goal, but I think they'll end up winning 3-1.
Yeah. Who do you think, or how will they address like Martinez being not in the field?
Well, they've got others that can fill that spot. Flock can fill that spot. Bueno can fill that spot. They've run with 2 defensive midfielders where they have like a defensive midfielder like Martinez or Flock or Bueno, and then next to them is Jack McGlynn, and that gives Jack a little bit more space to distribute the ball. It's kind of a modified 4-2-3-1 formation. And Jack has a really cultured left foot. He can really pass the ball well with his left foot, and he can spray it all over the field on a dime.
Wow.
So, it could be really pretty out there for the Union.
Yeah.
A cultured left foot makes it sound like he has athlete's foot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but I'm glad it has a better meaning than that.
So, Chrissy, you're going to stick with your 2-1?
I'm sticking with 2-1, yeah. Just
I think we're going to win. Just to do something maybe a little bit different, I'm going to say, because I don't know what Orlando's bringing to the table, right? If what players are missing due to international call-ups. I don't know. I'm going to say, did you just type in 5-0? On the shared Google Doc, I can just see this green cursor moving around, and next to my name, I just saw now it's 25-0. Yeah. Oh, I mean, I would love to. Yeah. Okay. Now we're getting silly. Yeah. Right. I feel like whenever there's a flux of players in and out, and it's not the usual crew on the field, it often increases the likelihood of a team scoring. But just do a little bit different. I'm going to go 2-0 Union. I think our defense is going to hold. We're going to do that again to keep learning these new phrases and what's the saying, right? Good artists copy, great artists steal. So they're gonna play that transition style, not worrying about possession, stop the attack, quick transition play to try to score. So I'm gonna say 2-0 Union. Maybe 3-0. I'm gonna be a little conservative. I'm gonna say 2-0.
Yeah, I had meant to type in 2-0 there. I just was using the number key and accidentally hit the 5 or the number pad and hit the 5 above it. So I was trying to predict your prediction. Didn't quite get it there.
You gotcha. Well, hopefully the soccer gods make the same mistake.
There you go.
Yeah, or the MLS writers make the same mistake. What do you got? Christy's got something.
Don't know if you guys saw, but again, we're recording on Tuesday. Glesnes has been signed until 2025.
Good.
With an option for 2026.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And I did see that online, but I would also like to shout out to my mom for sending me the Union News. My pretty much main news source. Sometimes she does beat me to the punch, which is
go Nancy.
Hysterical. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so pretty much get everything Union from her.
Field reporter Nancy.
Also like to this is news mostly for us, but it's a news and a thank you to the Sons of Ben and to Philly Soccer Now, formerly Brotherly Game, for following us on Twitter.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please tune in when you can. And just today, I don't know if you guys may have seen that the cast of Ted Lasso was at the White House promoting mental health and mental health awareness, I guess. So they did sort of a little bit where the reporter from the show, Trent Krim, was in the audience and asked a question and did a whole little bit. But Taylor Twellman posted the clip with "ruining soccer one day at a time, Ted Lasso," with a winky face, which I love. So continuing from our conversation last week about Jim Curtin's comments and Taylor Twellman kind of refuting that, he's keeping it up. Apparently Alexi Lawless agrees with Taylor Twellman as well, which is shocking. But we'll talk about Taylor because I can't talk about Alexi. So I found that pretty interesting that he's keeping that going.
Good. That's pretty good.
So yeah.
Yeah, that was a funny little press conference. You know, that group does a good job.
Yeah, they really do.
And it'd be fair. I mean, maybe we'll post a link to the video on when we post this week's episode on YouTube. But he does make quite a good argument about the rest of the world coming to Kansas City, and they're going to meet the people and particularly the food.
Exactly.
And, so that's going to be. While the people are truly the ambassadors, the barbecue is also going to do quite a good job of
right. And then even the larger issue of the cast of Ted Lasso is at the White House.
Well, true.
So yep. Soccer is just nothing, I guess. Which I know he's just poking fun, kind of having fun with it. Nobody is taking anybody to any huge task here, but.
So what are you saying? Lasso beard 2024?
No, I was trying to circle it back around to Curtin's argument about the show setting American soccer coaching back.
Yeah, I gotta wonder if Jim expected his comment about Ted Lasso to actually bring as much discussion as it appears to have done. And so,
gonna go with no.
I agree. I don't think
and. I still have nothing but love for him, but I do disagree on that point. So there you go.
But about Glesnes, that's pretty exciting because he's 28 now. That'll lock him up through 2025. So he'll be 30 or 2025. That'll be the year he turns 30 with an option for the year that he's 31, which in defenders, I mean, that's definitely towards the end of his peak years, but it certainly defenders can play for a while, and so it's good news for the Union. If they do end up getting somebody, some teams coming in with interest for Glesnes, they'll have a nice contract they'll be able to sell on. So it could be a good bit of business.
This is, of course, assuming nothing in the vein of Deadliest Catch happens to him in the off season, since he does fish for his family in the off season, commercial fishing in his home country. So hopefully he doesn't go overboard.
Well, maybe they added that statement to his new contract that he's no longer allowed to do commercial fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Can't pilot your own plane and hope to get your life insurance. And yeah. So anyway.
As far as other news, we already talked about the call-ups for the others. I don't have any update on Blake other than, Curtin in his one press interview did already mention that it was a grade 1 adductor strain like Christy had found last week.
Yeah.
So hopefully that means he's like a 4-week injury and then back. But Eric, you want to share the other big piece of news that came out today?
Yeah. So the MLS All-Star Game is going to be taking place July 19th. And the MLS All-Stars will be facing Arsenal in Audi Field and in DC.
That's going to be big.
That's going to be pretty awesome.
Arsenal is top of the Premier League, I believe, at the moment. They're doing very, very well this season. They've been playing really great soccer. I was actually just watching this last week's Arsenal game before we got on to do this recording because I hadn't watched it on the weekend. And they're just looking smooth and confident, powerful. And now they're coming to take on MLS. Granted, it will be their preseason, but I believe are they number 1?
Yeah, they're sitting top of the table.
I don't know that MLS has ever held a all-star game against a league leading overseas competition.
Well, wasn't the whole Pep Guardiola Porter fiasco when the all-star team played in Portland, and I think we played Bayern Munich, right? That's when
was that when
Pep Guardiola was managing the team. And I think we won that game, and I liked how we played. We played to win. We played physical. And I just remember Pep just not liking the fact that we were taking it to his players during their off season. And I remember after the game, Pep refused to shake Caleb Porter's hand. And he kind of, he was not very happy. The optics of his behavior wasn't very flattering. But I was very happy with how the All-Stars played, and particularly how Caleb Porter just handled himself with Pep Guardiola. It's like, all right, if you're not going to shake hands, well, have a safe flight back to Europe.
On top of it all, they made him wear flannel. So that was part of it.
Made who wear flannel?
Pep, he was in a flannel shirt for that game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So MLS is going to host Arsenal for the All-Star game in DC. It's almost tempting to go down to DC. It's not that far a drive.
It's not that far of a drive.
It is a Wednesday, but
July 19th, Wednesday.
All right. Take a long weekend, maybe.
Very long.
Yeah.
And there might be other sports things going on, but yeah, it's definitely something to consider. I'm Paul, when you shared that news this evening, I was super happy to hear that it's going to be against Arsenal.
And it'd be nice to see the new field because the last time we went, they were still playing at RFK.
RFK, yeah,
which was not a great place.
Which was the giant stadium of DC.
Yeah,
it's just
exactly
a bowl of holding in hot air, and it was a fun game. It was New England Revolution, right. Jaime Moreno, I think, was still with DC at the time. Dating ourselves here. But anyway, this All-Star game, I think it's great news. Definitely looking forward to it. If we can make it, we'll let you know, and you can come out and say hi.
Yeah. So let's see, we covered, I think, everything. Is there any other Apple TV venom we want to get out before we call it a podcast for this week?
I think I finally calmed down, so maybe it's best if we don't rile me up again because I won't be able to sleep.
This podcast is serving as Apple TV therapy. Just got to talk it out.
Talk it out, baby.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all. That's all the news for now. We'll have to see what happens with regards to, lineups and everything for this coming weekend. We've all shared our predictions, and it's all looking like it should be a good game against Orlando. Hopefully, I haven't checked the weather, but I'm going to check that right now. Hopefully, that will be more hospitable than last time they played in
although unless it'd be interesting, because I know when we went down to, never mind, that was Miami. Sorry, I'm getting my Florida cities mixed up. But I know when we played Miami, there was concern about, coming from Pennsylvania, going that far south, and the hotter, more humid temperature. So I'm kind of hopeful that we want a nice, maybe 50 degrees, just when those Orlando players come up and they're not, as acclimated to the cold as we are. And maybe that gives us an advantage. I don't know.
Well, it should be high that day is around 55 or so, but there's a chance of thunderstorms. So,
of course,
that's right, because it is the end times.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to a couple of games that have had thunder and lightning delays, and you go stand under the concourse for a while and just wait it out for 25-30 minutes and then hopefully get back to it. I think that's it for this week. Thanks for listening to our Crapple TV whatchamacallit, therapy session.
Special Crapple TV episode.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening, for tuning in. You can find us still on YouTube. Eric, you and I need to get back together and figure out how we can get this up on the regular podcast. At least the audio get up on the podcast threads. If you want to reach out to us, our email address is amorephillyunion@gmail.com. Twitter, you can follow us at amorephillyu, and Instagram is amorephillyunion. Please, reach out to us, tag us, say hey, and follow us if you feel like it. We'd love to get the numbers up and get some involvement. If you have any feedback on how things are going, we'll be glad to share it.
Yeah, and we'll follow you back, or
absolutely
hashtag you back, or whatever the kids say.
That's why I do the socials.
That's right.
And thank you for that, Christy. Saving Eric's my sanity by not making us on social media any more than we have to. All right, so this is a More Philly Union for this week. I'm Paul.
I'm C.
I'm Eric.
We'll talk to you next week. More Union.